Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to Towards Photography's next event with Mohamed Bourouissas, as well as co-moderator Julika Bosch. My name is Anja Kowischko, and I'm an independent curator, writer, and film producer living and working in Düsseldorf. Last year, I was asked by the board of DFI Artists Association to organize a series of events around the topic of photography. The lectures, talks, and interviews should circulate around the idea of a new national institute, the so-called German Photo Institute, which is currently being planned. For me, this request brought up the urgency to speak about the question of representation. If we imagine to create a whole new collection, a collection that represents a broader population and therefore a contemporary idea of art, its present and history, how our selection would look like, which names would appear in this artist list, which positions are contemporarily important and why, and who does through their work represent the photography of today. With this concept in mind, I asked curator Julika Bosch from Filara Collection to join me for today's event. And very fast, we both agreed to invite Mohamed, you, to join us for the conversation about his artistic practice. And like everyone can see now, we are happy to have him here with us and that he agreed.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Anja. I'm quickly going to introduce myself too. Julika Bosch, curator and director of Filara Collection, which is located in Düsseldorf as well and focuses on contemporary art, holding around 1,800 artworks in our collection, including a diverse range of media. And we also produce changing exhibitions. Last year, we displayed an exhibition presentation on economic and cultural relations in connection with exploitative structures of industrialized countries, focusing on the one hand on expansion of capital and profit-oriented production, but also on the other hand on the resource protection and social responsibility. The exhibition was curated by Katharina Klang and included artists like Julien Charrier, Boris Mikhailov, Oscar Murillo, Kara Walker, amongst others. And we showed your work, Mohamed Bourouissas, which started some conversations between us. We showed Window 7 and the work called Yasin, connected to the Horse Day. Mm-hmm. And they were included in that exhibition because of similar questions Anja has introduced, focusing on representation in this context, especially a representation that is kind of a reframing of the stereotypical white American cowboy with an urban street riding club that you initiated and photographed and produced some works with, which we'll circle back to a bit later on. And I'm going to hand back over to Anja for a second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to say a few words to your biography. You were born in Blida, Algeria, and now you live in Paris and work in Paris. Mm-hmm. And your work has been exhibited in numerous solo exhibitions, for example, Musée d'Art Moderne de Ville de la Paris, the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, or Haus der Kunst in Munich, to name only a few. And your work also is part of not only Filara Collection, but also other public art collections, such as LACMA Los Angeles, Centre Pompidou in Paris, or the Philadelphia Museum of Modern Art. Yes. So just to have like a very quick overview of what you've been working on in the past. So, and let's start maybe with the past. Throughout the event series, I have recognized that it's indeed very interesting question to ask how an artist got involved with what today is the artistic practice. I think this question is so interesting because the answer often defines how the artist approaches art and defines artistic work in the present. So to start with the beginning, how did you become an artist?
Okay, hi, thank you for the presentation. How I became an artist. I think it's a something processing. It's not like you wake up one day and you are an artist or decide to be an artist. Maybe for others this work like that, but for me it was like a long way because I grew up in this kind of context where nobody make like art studies, and I find when I was very young I start to make some drawing, and like I learned to communicate with others with drawing. It's very basic in certain way and naive, I think, but they came from that. And after that, when I was in the college, I think it's different college and university for you, but in France we call that college when you get like 14 years old. And I really decided to move from the regular school to go in the specific school of art. And even I was making like different kind of school of art, I didn't really realize or understand what it means to be the author of something and try to have like artistic intention. And I was just trying to be applicate, to be maybe somebody asked me to do things and I make some drawing, and I was learning from that. I passed through the graffiti and the art of school, and when I get like, maybe I start to understand what it means to be an artist when I get like 25 years old. And I really get what I mean to be an artist, and I decide in this moment to follow my own practice and my own intention and art. And that practice, this stage came with the photography, I think. Because through the photography, I have this moment when I can get these pictures of my environment, my friends. And when I was in the school, I learned a lot about the art conceptual, the very classic, Renaissance, and all this kind of history of art. And I was feel through the photography, I can like represent my friends, I mean my people. I don't know if yeah I think that's
was there some sort of progress between the early drawings and the graffiti and like looking at images existing in art history to the photography, or was that more of a cut for you to work with another medium?
It's like before, I mean, like the practice for me, like to be making painting and drawing, it was very loneless practice. And when I was around with my friends, we make like graffiti, and it was very collective. But through your drawing, it's all you feel you are alone. You create your own body of work.
Right.
Not specifically with the graffiti, but when you make graffiti, we are a crew and you go to make painting on the wall, but sometimes you go back to your home and making drawing or making painting, but you are alone. It's like your universe. You are not open to the other. And I discovered one day the photography to Anushka Shute. She's a good friend of mine, and she was a photographer, and we was good friend. And she started to show me the African-American photographer, Jamal Shabazz, and I was quite shocked to discover this kind of work. And for me, the photography, it was more something when you can be more open to the world. Like when you go outside and take the pictures of someone outside, I mean, you make this connection with someone outside, you can meet and discuss about different things, and you have this connection with some people you don't know. And I feel through the photography, it was very easy to leave the trace. I mean, for me, like the photography is the instantané. It's like very, you go outside and to take these pictures, it was like very capturing immediately what's going on. And with the painting and drawing, it was like something more slow. It was quite very different in this moment for me. And with the photography, like I just take the picture, I go to the lab and make the print, and I really can see it. And I start to have like this kind of connection. And honestly, with the photography, I made so many connections. And I think this all the connection I bring with the first series called Nous sommes Al. It was like very deep connection. I still have the same friends through this first series. But there is another thing. It's because I think there is like some kind of, when you talk about break, I think the thing to change, because when I start to make photography, I had the really intention to make something more like, I can say, conceptual. Because when I decide to make Nous sommes Al, for me, it's like very conceptual idea about try to represent my own culture, my suburb culture, where I was come from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we can start looking at the first series of works now. The series you mentioned, Nous sommes les Halles. And yeah, maybe tell us more about this meeting point.
Yeah.
And meeting other people.
This photography, it's nice you show these pictures, because it was not made by me. It was made by Anushka. It's like very collaborative series. And when you see here, it's like the neighbor of Châtelet-les-Halles. Châtelet-les-Halles is like the center of Paris. And it's very interesting because it's also about the urbanism. Because all the train cross this place. All the train from the different suburb of the suburb of Paris, they're crossing there. A lot of young people going there because they can buy clothes and they can hang out with friends, and they spend time there. You have like so many shops. And for all these generations, and for the 90s, 2005, for sure, this place was very important for the hip hop culture, for the street clothes. And yes, and for Anushka and me, what I can say about Anushka, she was very focused on African-American culture, and me, I was more focused on about the clothes too, about more like the clothes from the suburb, the style of the suburb. Here, these young guys, they was like using this kind of clothes very close to the American, Afro-American representation in the clothes. You can see it. Not all of that, but you can see like the sign and the code of the culture. And sometimes we was taking the other side. Interesting, you have the other side more like us, for the type of French clothes. And for us, it was like very interesting because everything was completely mixed in the same place. And you can see here in this picture the clothes and the postures and how they was like looking the camera and how they would stand through the camera. This is form of to be noble. I don't know if it's a good word, but they have the type and the code of the clothes and the type of culture and in certain way. What I was trying to show in that is like to be proud of who we are in this moment and to leave this trace of this time.
This picture, it has so much to do like with hip hop culture, of course, and also with fashion. And when we see like the next picture, then it's like also obvious that Lacoste, for example, was this kind of thing that is a code for something. And I have like two questions basically. Could you like say something about this index thing, that you have like this kind of signs or this kind of codes that are like readable somehow through like hip hop culture, for example? And also another question would be, have you ever been thinking of becoming a fashion photographer, or was it like clear for you because of art school that you will deal with this kind of images in an artistic sense? And what is like maybe the difference?
Okay. Now you are showing like, I think this connection with these two pictures is very interesting because like we have so many layers on that. The first layer, you have like this portrait of the black man in the street in Paris. It's my pictures. I made it. what I was thinking, like very interesting pictures. In certain way, he's very expressive. You have this type of bob and the clothes, and at the same times he have like this I don't know, the man Fatma, I don't know the name, the bracelet. Here it's a hand of Fatma, we call, and it's very typical of the Maghreb. What I understand through that, we create with different sign and different culture, our own culture. And on the other side, what you see, it's a picture of Lacoste. Now it's very interesting when you see Lacoste changing completely the board of them. They're really trying to change their own image. But in the 2000 in 1995 until 2005, Lacoste, they represent like very wide bourgeois class, you know. And they were showing that, and for sure, what's happened for people in the suburb, they were using the symbol of wealth, and they start to have this clothes inside outside of the street. And it's interesting because when I was talking about to leave the trace at the same time to show the code we have in the past, there is like at this moment. What's happening in Paris was very interesting. This happened with two groups of rap. Now I'm going back to the hip hop. The group was called Arsenic, and this group of Arsenic, they was like using for their album the clothes of Lacoste. And Lacoste don't feel very comfortable with this type of image from the street, and they really denigrate all this young generation. Like, this is not our symbol. They don't represent us. We don't really like. And after that, Arsenic, they change. And another guy called Diese, they make a new fashion style, and he decided to give them the clothes for the second album. And when you see, if you have the opportunity to see that, it's very interesting. The first album, they have like this clothes all Lacoste. From Arsenic, the French rappers, and the one most best rap in the 90s. 90s, yes, 90s. And the second album they made, they was like using different clothes to someone too close to their own friend and their own team, and decide to leave this brand. And now, why it's very ironic and very funny. Now you can see Lacoste, they start to change the whole artistic director. They try to be more close about the street fashion, and they have like more people from the street and making more pictures with people from the suburb. Like in very basic ways, black and Arabic, like try to mix that and to try to meet more color people on the advertising. I don't say it's bad or good, but it's a fact. It's like just a fact. And it's interesting the evolution they have, for your other question, it's about if I made the fashion. I made sometime the fashion photography. For example, I made this photography for Virgil Abloh in the first campaign, and Virgil, for me, like he really changed the brand, the fashion of the like very huge classic brand for Louis Vuitton, and after that all the brand start to change the type of clothes they make. I think it's very interesting to understand, because even when you see, even I made this series about clothes, and to be proud of to try and make portrait and to show how they have the type of clothes and how the clothes is important to represent yourself. But it's the first thing what the people see from you when you walk on the street. And for me, that presents a lot. I'll say, yeah, there's so many examples. That's Châtelet until like 2010. and now it is totally changed. They have the new building, and in the left you have the. For example, I was talking to you about this type of suburb and the type of hip hop in this mixed. In the left picture, you definitely can see that, and you can see like more hip hop, and the guys on the back, and the other guys have the brand of Lacoste, and have the type of the cell phone here hang, and you have like the red thing to get all your stuff inside, and yeah, and even you have the posture, and you have so many think about. If I can go very deeper, this on the clothes, and for example here the guy have his yellow hair, and he have this t-shirt called Ghetto Fabulous Gang, and the Ghetto Fabulous Gang, it's really one of the first brands made by the people in the market, in the flea market in the north of Paris. And this group, it was like a big collective of the hip hop rap, and they start to sell their own t-shirt to make their own CD, and they're developing their own industry. I think it's very independent. They start everything about the independent because it was quite rejected in certain way. And after that, you see all this kind of movement grow. And Ghetto Fabulous Gang, it was one of the first hip hop group and big collective in the flea market of Porte de Clignancourt. And they was like very important for this new type of music and new type of entrepreneurial and independency. And yeah.
For me, there is also something else to that I always linking to Les Halles, is that this place changed a lot, right? And
yes,
back then, before like this new shopping mall was built, it was a place where, like you said before, where all the young people were hanging around. And for me, although I'm not from Paris, it was a story that I heard quite a lot of times, is that mostly people from the suburbs of Paris were hanging around there because the transport system is so bad regarding like how to go to the suburbs after, I don't know, 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Everyone was gathering there because there like the buses were leaving, and when you miss your bus, you have
exactly
until 5 or something.
It was a nightmare. Yeah.
And it was a symbol for me. It was always a symbol of gentrification because they built up like this fancy new shopping mall, and then the young people had to leave because and they were like, I was hearing the stories of them trying to get rid of the young folks through playing some music or playing a sound that only people under 25 can hear, that it's very loud, like
yeah, that's true, and the same with the light. There's a like form of oppression in certain way. For example, about the train and about the time they can go there and to stay until the time they want, for sure. Yeah, but even today, and even in Marseille, you know, this is happen all the time. And but yeah, I don't want to talk about that, or about, because I think in certain way, all this, why I made this series, it's because the people, they are so creative. Like the guys have his yellow hair with these things around his neck, and the t-shirt, and this really aesthetic things, like with the yellow hair with the t-shirt, and make totally sense for him. And the other guys on the left, you can see they are very good style, a fucking style. They were like thinking about how kind of style they want and how they want to present themselves. And yeah, it's very sophisticated and very creative. I mean, me, I was like, when I made this series, I was not thinking about try just to making like in this condition and talk about their own condition, because I know the condition, it was bad. And but I mean, through that, they have the capacity to be more creative, and they are more capacity to try to develop themselves. Yeah, that I don't want to say about the form of resilience, but in a certain way, there was like, okay, you want me, I will create my own group. I create my own culture. I will mix like through like United States from my country where I come from, my parents come from, and I'm here. And now I just like have this all this connection and create my own culture. And you see, it's very creative. That's why I was trying to represent that to this series, and try to make just, okay, we are here, that's it. You know, it's like you can make what you want. Like, okay, it's fine. But I think through this series, I'm not trying to talk about the situation and social situation. Heaven is there. I think for me, it's more than that.
Yeah. I think this this idea of creationism, or the DIY culture in a way, like appropriating some images or brands or social status, leads us to the next body of work that has a similar relation. The work that I was mentioning, the Horse Day.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yes, it's quite long. It was like very long process. I think I just mentioned it just right now. I was like talking about the United States, about me. I come from Algeria and I grew up in France. I mean, I have all this influence through my origin country, all this culture from United States. And I think through this project, I was trying to understand myself and try to understand what is the American culture, what is the history of Black American in United States, to this kind of representation we have about the cowboy. For sure, and in 2008, I discovered the book of Marta Camarillo. Marta Camarillo, she's a photographer from the Bronx, and she's a press photographer, and she made this book with urban Fletcher Street Club, and she made this book about Fletcher Street, and she made all this kind of beautiful picture. I really invite the people to see, because I think the pictures, they are really amazing, and she was quite the first person who made this picture there. And yeah, when I discovered her pictures, I was completely shocked, because when we grow, for sure, we grow with all these westerns, Italian westerns, spaghetti westerns, and all this American cowboy representing the Indian, and talking about the war and different things like fighting, and like, you know, all this kind of thing, all this kind of representation, all this symbolic of the white cowboy, and the most symbolic and iconic representation is John Wayne. And when I saw the book, I was quite shocked, because I discovered something I didn't know, and for me it was like something maybe exceptional, and I wait maybe 5 years before to go and to decide to make this project, because I had this idea to go and to make like a new representation, new westerns, fiction film. I don't want to make a documentary. I have that in my mind. I want to break this vision I have and I grow with. And I decided to go there and to discuss about a project I want to make. And the first time I was there for 1 month, and I discovered the reality of the situation. And one of the most was something disturbed me, because I was not alone. Like, I was not only guy there. I saw like maybe 2 or 3 photographers in 1 month to go there and try to make an art project there. And most of them, they was white. I mean, I ask myself too, like, what kind of position I have, what I want to make there. Like, I just want to make an image because I have that on my mind, and just I want to ask him to be like the model for me, and or I want to go deeper and try to be more that, and maybe try to do something with them, not on them. And after that, I came back to France and I started to think about what we can do. And if I want to do a movie, I have to do something more for the community, not only for myself, and like just to go and pay the people and make this film and go, And I was like to go there for almost 1 year and just to understand the situation and to understand more and to know more the people there. And and I think it's quite violent. It's not easy to go to Fletcher and to live there because it's quite poor area. I don't mean the people that are poor, but the situation is quite complicated. And when you see the riders, the people see just the black man on the horse, but there's so many things under this representation. There is like some guys, they are the owner of the horses. The kids, sometimes they make like just exercise for they use the horses to make exercise. Sometimes the others like using the horses for the pony job, for example, to bring the horses and to go to make some dollars with the horses. And some just love the horses and love to ride. There's so many characters there. And I decided to go there and to propose to to the riders to collaborate with one artist from Philadelphia, from the community of Philadelphia. And I proposed to propose to them, the artist and the rider, to create the special costume and to create and to make one day like celebration for the horse. And we make like this crazy context about make this costume and tuning the horses. That was the goal for us. But through this goal, I decided to documenting every moment, every time I was there, and the artist, the relationship with the artist, and to document the event, and at the same time to create like fiction scene. And during this time, I was working a lot. I made so many pictures there because I spent so many time. I was like riding with the riders, going in the street, and just I took so many pictures and all these pictures I was using for the other piece I made with a piece of cars. And I want to talk about the film because I think the film is the source of everything after I made through this project. The film, you see like different type of image. You see documentary image, you see fiction image, and you see how you record like an event. And the film, it's a mix of 3 types of films: documentary, event, and fiction. And for me, it was quite interesting to have this prism like that. I mean, it was very impossible to catch the reality of this moment. It's impossible to say something because I was someone to be outside of the reality, of their own reality. What I was ask myself is, what is the prism for me? And now you are showing like the other pictures, like the card part, and I deconstruct all this, and I bring all this image. I don't know what I do, and I start to make this kind of collage and mixing this type of image, and you can't see really the volume, but for me it was a very important. You can't catch all the image when you are. It was quite impossible. If you see the part car,
yeah,
if you're on the front, it's impossible to see all the image, and you have one part, and if you move, you will see another part. It's really hard to understand all the. You have the whole. How you say? You can't catch all the piece in one position. You have to move all the time. I mean, the piece. It's really not possible to catch. I mean, for me, it was like this questioning myself, like it's impossible to catch the reality, and I really want to make this intention inside the piece of the piece Yassine, but it's one of them.
Yeah, so maybe we have to explain to our visitors who cannot, who are not so familiar with these images, just to elaborate a bit. there are silver prints on scrap material, on body parts of cars, on a window part of a car. And that's why you were mentioning, if you walk around those rather large materials, you cannot see the full image.
Exactly. And I can say something about the image and why I start to print the image on the part of the car is because when I was in Fletcher Street and with there, and I was like shooting different moments, and I saw the reflection on of one horse inside the car, and then they make it work like a mirror. When I saw this image, I definitely get the sense of I understand how I can use the image I made during this time, because the horse was completely deformé. Oh, I don't have the word. Deformed.
Yeah, it's
deformed. Yes, deformed by the car, by the form of the car. And for me, it was exactly my perception of the reality. This is exactly how I saw the reality, because I came with my own history, like from Algeria, and grew up in France, and go to the United States, try to understand my own history through the African American history. Even I feel like this can be close. I was quite far, and my own history deformed my perception of the reality of this place. And for me, like, it was quite a metaphor of this reflection.
Interesting. Yeah. I was also thinking about how the horses are tuned and cars are tuned, and
exactly
in which way both are kind of a power symbol. Because if you imagine like a riding stall, you usually imagine like 14-year-old white girls from upper class families.
That's a good point. What you're talking about, it's interesting because it's very interesting what you say right now. I think it's because it's about the representation. It's how we learn the history of the representation. Because when you go to Fletcher Street, when you start to be interesting about their own history, about the culture, and of all the things, you discover it's not like something exceptional. It's something traditional. I mean, they come from a lot of the riders from Philadelphia. They came from the south of America, the north south, and a lot of decide to move there because the oppression, and a lot of riders they start, but they have their own history to riding horses. And from the War of Secession, a lot of black men, they was like fighting for the liberty, and they have their own liberty, and they have the horses too. I mean, there is a long history of the black men and the Indian and the Mexican history of the riders. And I think it's just because we have one short vision of the representation of the man on the horse, and we definitely think it's only the white people be on the horse. I mean, it's only about a known history, you know. That's why I was making this project too, because I think it was like very important to make that visible. Like, okay, this is very common. I don't like. It's not exotic. It's common.
Yeah.
It's like it's something It's something about the image we grow a lot. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not clear, but because for me it was the same in the beginning. It was like, okay, the horses is for the white people, but it's not. It's not that. It's like on the reality, the representation of the rider is from the Arabic country.
Yeah.
From the this is like the Spanish people, the saddle of the horses, all this type of the saddle you see on the movies, like the Western movies. came from the saddle from the Spanish, for the Mexican, and from the Spanish, and the Spanish came. They get all this type of saddle from the Arabic. You know, there is like a very long story about how riders and the horses and human riding horses, and I mean that's just the what I saw here through this history of the black men on the horses. It's just the visible part of the iceberg, you know, because yeah, it's very like there is so many. It's quite very deep. That right, I see my friend. He's called New York, living there, and he loves horses, and he have so many horses. And he have like maybe 3 horses for the race, and you see so many Mexican in the specific place that makes a race, but this race they're not visible in the TV and other stuff in like very mainstream media. But when I looking from his Instagram, in Facebook, I saw him like making some race. It's with the Mexican community, and the guys take care of these horses in Mexican. I mean, it's quite very deep, culture there, you know?
Yeah, it does make sense that it's not exclusively something that is used in America or in Western countries. I mean,
exactly.
It's a social practice, and it's a practice of transportation. So why would it be limited to that? And I think the way that you engage in these images does also not make them seem exotic, because you can see that it is connected to a wider cultural practice, and it's not depicted within one portrait or just singled out image, but it's connected to a video work of yours. It's connected to sculptural work of yours. So you see different phases of interaction with this material too, which is interesting. Yeah,
I agree.
What I also find like interesting about it, it's a very good and very intense statement about photography in general as well. So like one image, like one flat image, we still have like problems to recognize after how many, like 100 and a few years of photography. We still have the problems that we like tend to think that what we see is like this one image, and sculptures actually show like that there is so much more around it.
But I totally agree. For me, when I make this, I make photography, you know. And some people like they're looking like sculpture, but for me it's like collage. It was the beginning of like using like paper and the glue and to put it like this. The only thing I made through this series is just play with the volume, you know. But for me, still the photography, because I use like different material. It's quite very clear. Like I use different techniques, because I use the whole technique of the photography, like the white chamber, the black chamber, and I mix that with sublimation. I mix that with serigraphy, and all this type of creating an image. And for me, for example, it's funny because when the people talk to me about photography, they'll go to my series, different other series on the paper, and when I never see like photography museum be interested about these works, because I think they think like no that is contemporary art, but for me it's not, you know. It's like it's a photography, it can be contemporary art, it's fine, but it's like photography too, you know. It's like it just it's like thinking about and through this kind of dimension, like mixing all this surface and the brilliance, and you see it's clear. It's through the photo. I don't know how to clarify it right now, but yeah, it's like for me, when I make this, it's interesting because me, I don't have like this kind of closing things, like, but sorry. I'm losing myself.
Also what is also interesting regarding this is that you very openly speak about Marta Camarillo, You're mentioning her as someone who was doing it before, and other photographers doing it and were like photographing in the same time when you were there, and that it's kind of also a very open like approach to say like, I'm not the only photographer in the world. We have like plenty of photographers and plenty of photographers that dealing with the same topics. But it's like we all together do this. Somehow it's also like this kind of, there is not one image, there is also not one photographer. There is like this many perspectives on one thing. And this is also like kind of very interesting moment in your work. No?
Exactly. You go through to the point. I mean, for me, when I was talking before about the films and say I was mixing different type of image, it's because we are so many people was interested in the same subject. I mean, when I saw that and I understood, even now they have like the Concrete Cowboy who was in Netflix, made one from the one realizator, I don't know, his one director, I forgot his name, and he made, I'm like, okay, it's cool, you know, it's like not like just, oh, that's my subject, you know, and it's like so weird thing like that. But I mean, it's interesting to see how all this view, different type of representation, different view on one subject. It's quite interesting to see all this prism. And I mean, that's push me in this other way with the piece Yassine. That's pushed me to go there because I was like quite, I have to be honest, lost. When I came with all this image, I was quite lost. I didn't know what I do and what I can do with that. I was like completely lost and asked myself it was like too complicated because I saw so many point of view. I was like, okay, this have to put all my questioning, all my doubts, all my reflection about this moment, about this experience through this piece. And that's why you have all this kind of mess in certain way. Now, even it's composed, but it's quite, you can understand that. I mean, all this labyrinth, I don't know how to say labyrinth, but something. Yeah. Yes, labyrinth. Thanks. It's easy. There are so many French words in English. So.
Right, they're all the same.
Yeah. Labyrinth. Okay, all right. Okay, shoplifters. For me, this series is very important because I think it's the critique of the person who takes an image and who have the power to do this image. I will to explain because now that's the end of the but the series I made this series in 2000 I don't remember
2014.
14, yes, it was right somewhere. Thank you very much. And I was in Brooklyn. It was the same time when I was making this project in Philadelphia. And I was in the shop and I saw so many pictures made with Polaroid just in the entrance of the shop. And it was made by the owner of the shop to dissuade, to be sure the people not coming back and they won't try to steal again in the shop. And when I saw this picture, I was quite honestly, I was quite shocked. But the quality, the image was very bad and very bad quality, and it was quite very hard. It was like a long process to reveal the pictures. But when I say that I was using Photoshop to reveal the image, it's quite interesting in such a way. I think for me it's important to say that because sometimes the technical aspect is not very interesting, but in this case, I think it makes a lot of sense to discuss about that. And I saw these pictures. I tried to talk with the guys of the security and ask him what they came from these pictures. And he will explain to me all the story. The people from the neighbor came there and tried to steal, and the owner he made the deal with them like, okay, if you don't need to call the police, you have to stand on the shop and to take the thing you stole, and I make the pictures of you like this. You never come back, and I have the picture of you. Normally, it can't do that. You know, it's like it can't do that. For here, for you say, see the police behind, you can really see it. But why you can see it? Because the quality of the image, you can, you know, the Polaroid is quite small. It's like this. And on the pictures, the quality was like a lot of tape on there. It was like very old pictures. It was quite completely destroyed. You can't see really the image. And I start to shot all the pictures, like maybe like 20, 25. And I start to show these pictures, and I make a very long process with Photoshop to reveal the image. And you see the image, when I say that, is because when I saw the first time the image with very bad quality, I didn't really understand the scene, what's going on in the image. It's because it's the same. I mean, when I'm talking about Photoshop, it's because it's the same when you have your white paper, you're in a dark room, and you reveal the image. It's funny because it was quite the same process with the Photoshop. It was revealing what's going on the image. And what we see two people here in the specific image, two people standing with the object they was trying to steal, and behind them, all the project they have on the shop. Even I think what we see in reality here, for sure, we see the people, and we see the despair. How you say désespéré? How you say we see the poverty, the violence of the situation of the people. But for me, what I'm looking for specifically in this image, I'm looking for the surface. I mean, the person taking these pictures. I'm revealing the view of the person who took these pictures. We are not looking only the subject on the image. What we are looking is like this person making this image of these people. And you can all understand all the mechanism of this violent process. Like take you pictures with your object, you steal one object like oil, like small things, and the shop with so many abundance of product, and how the guys was making these people in this situation very violent. I make maybe 2 years to decide to reveal this series, because for me it was very complicated. It was very moral. I'm questioning myself because I thought I don't know these people. It was like using again this picture of them and to show them again and in very like complicated situation. But I can get this position to be an asshole because I think it's really important to make this violence, this mechanism of violence visible. You know, it's like what you see is all this mechanism of violence made by someone. Because I asked the owner, okay, I say, okay, you took these pictures, please, I want to make a portrait. And he say no. And I was okay, I have to show this series. And for me, this series of photography is the most conceptual series I made through all my career. Even Peripherix too, but this one, it was like very, very radical series.
I switched over to Peripherix because I actually going through your work had the feeling that shoplifters is kind of important, or through shoplifters I was switching back to Peripherix and to the pictures from Les Halles because it became in this moment for me like very visible that your works have a kind of very polite distance to the one that they photograph. You would never get like too intimate with the models, with people depicted there, because I was imagining when it would be like too much intimacy, they would feel like everyone would like feel like disconnected from a situation where you see your image showing poverty, for example, or something,
Mm-hmm.
like in a museum place or like exhibition space. So it was mirroring this kind of process, like in a very interesting way, that you like, yeah, starting to think of the kind of distance that you have, or the poses that the
Mm-hmm.
people have to protect themselves also, like,
Yeah,
with too much closeness.
I think you agree with that. I totally agree with what you say right now. For me, it's like it has to explain it to, but for me, it was like I don't want to put them in like in a hard situation and don't feel proud to be photographed with this periphery. For me, it was like very important to making them, even it's like very naive but beautiful. You know, I want to show them like in this kind of position of this kind of masculinity to be like very a man, what I can say, because it was only with men, to be proud of themselves, you know, like, okay, this is me on the pictures, and I don't want to show you like in like in complicated situation, like to be poor and have this paternalism view. It was like, okay, we are here, and we are very proud of who we are. And sometimes people just want to be like in certain position and let them to be in the position they want. And sometimes what the proposal was better than my idea in my mind, you know. It's like, and for example, this photography, I don't ask them to be like in the, you know, to play too much, you know, like, because you have like this kind of photography that maybe you can place the body, but me, I was trying more focus on the structure, vertical structure, and at the same time to play with how they look themselves together and to create all this geometric organization, all this tension through you told me before, the looking, I don't know how to say.
Through
told
the
me before.
or
Yes, thank you. And for example, but even because yeah, after the school, you know, I have all this baggage of the art school, of the whole painting, and yes, I mean, like, I was just, this is exactly what the same with the clothes before. It's exactly what it is. It's like we cross things and we create through this assemblage one thing, you know. And I was using all this kind of even it was by instinct. It was not very intentional, but I start to, okay, I grow up with this old culture and I want to include that and integrate my own people there. Like, it was very naive in certain way, but I think that was the beginning of to create this series. And for example, that's a situation when I was living. I was trying to recreate this moment of tension of two people crossing the self, and it's about the masculinity of this violence of the masculinity too. Like, you look at me, why you look at me, and all this kind of looking in this very moment, and to be like very critical of what Cartier-Bresson called the instant, you know, the instant. I don't know, instant T, you know. I don't know if you remember about Cartier-Bresson. Yeah, you have to be there in the good moment of the photography. And for me, like, I'm not in the kind of school ever. No, I am not there. Yes, I wasn't very critical of that. I have to be honest. And for me, was all everything was created. I mean, I was just talking about to recreate this moment, or making this moment with fiction, and all this kind of tension can be recreated, and to use like all this knowledge I grew up with from the art school, and to re-inject in the daily life, and with my friend, and all this the life experience I had with friends, and I want to make that on the pictures. And it's and another side, it was like, for other picture, for example, La République, it was like a critique of the media in this time, because they have the stereotype, the archetype of who we are, and to use in this archetype and transform that in art and to integrate that in art. It's a form of integrate all the people I grew up with in this specific context of the art world. Because in the 2005, 2006, 2008, until 2008, it was like, you don't really see, it was not so easy to see this kind of work, like to use in all this suburb culture with mix. It was not so easy. Now the time changed a lot, and you have so many artists, young artists that are interesting about that. But in this time, for me, it was like, you know, I have to do it because, like, from the series Nous sommes Ali was exactly that. You know, it's like, I didn't see on the and the advertising now changed, but in this time was quite different. Yeah. Sorry, I just lose myself on different topic. But let's go back to the pictures. Sorry.
But just to clarify, I mean, in this picture you can see it too. This series Périphérique is back in Paris in banlieue area.
That's in the Clichy-sous-Bois. Okay, let's try to be like very clear and explain all the concept of the image. I started the series with one picture called La Fenêtre, and La Fenêtre, it was the first pictures I made. In these pictures, you have like different things. You have these postures, the hand of the body, and you have the back, and the back was like green, and we call that the window, the title of the series. And in this image, you have all this concept and all this reflection and all this composition under. It was very related of different painter. For example, for La République, it was directly related about related to La Liberté guide dans le peuple de Delacroix. For me, it's like really a reinterpretation of the La Liberté dans le peuple de Delacroix. It was inspired by the riot in Paris in 2005, and I asked a good friend of me to help me to make these pictures. And these pictures, it's a representation of this moment of the riot in 2005 with the police, and to using like this flag, the French flag. But what we see in this image, we're not seeing like the riot. We see what's going on behind the riot. That was my reflection about these pictures. Somebody was killed by someone else through this flag of France, and that represents how you say, you have the scene and behind the scene. That's not the visible scene of the media was making that visible. Even they was talking about these two young people dying, but then was talking about the riot. And for me, in this moment, I was asking myself, not myself, but the question of one word we use in France. We have two words to say riot. And we have émeute and révolte. Révolte is like one word. It was used for, came from the same roots of revolution. Révolte, that means it's something coming from the reason. And émeute, it's like another word to say riot, but it's without a reason. It's like émeute is something's happening like this. We don't understand where. And they use all the time this word. They don't talk about revolt. I mean, for me, it was like very disturbing when I start to think about these two different notion of this word, and I was trying to making visible this intention of revolt of this moment in 2005. I think even it was not organized, it was completely disorganized, but it came through the reason. I mean, it was a revolt, and all the media, they was using one word like émeute all the time, émeute. And when they go talk about the suburb or some riot in the suburb, they use émeute because they leave the sense and they leave the reason why this thing happened. And I think these pictures, I was trying to questioning that to these pictures. And there is another thing, but more like aesthetic. It's about the composition. All the time when I was like trying to make an image, I was like thinking about the geometry, and I was like analyze the geometry. For example, the Liberté dans le peuple de la Croix, and I was trying to make all this tension with a line. You can see if you can use like you can see a line of the La Liberté dans la Croix, and through this La République, you will see quite the same composition, the same geometry inside the frame. And for me, I call that geometry émotionnelle, emotional geometry. It's like the concept, it came from Florence Paradise. She was my teacher, and she told me like one day, like, Mohamed, what you doing with this series is like emotional geometry. And it's exactly that. I was like using different line, using through the eyes, looking each other, and to create like this tension with the body and the movement to create this kind of emotion. And I think she was like very sensitized my intention to this project in two words, like emotional geometry. And I think now I'm quite clear with this series. And if you want to show me more, I can tell you more.
That's super interesting. I was also, especially with this picture, I was asking myself, how did you work? I don't know if you want to speak about it, but it has like really this filmish kind of tension where you can like imagine that you were working more or less as a director, right? Not saying like, okay, stand here, stand there, but bringing the people into action and starting to photograph to get like the perfect picture out of it. But actually it's like you can really, I think you can really feel like this dynamics here.
But it was quite composed, this image. Everything was drawing. Only the guys on the front walking there, it was not included in the beginning, but all the composition was completely like that. If you see the body, it was making like a turn, someone looking, the body on the floor, the second guy looking, leaving, the other guy is looking, the police, the other guy showing the police, and you have all this movement, the circle, they create like this circle, and in the middle, that was really composed. But the guys on the middle, it was not. There's another moment because we suppose it was that's not very interesting. No, forget it. But there is something interesting about the flag. We really in the beginning, I want to burn the flag, and in the end I didn't burn it. That's really weird, I have this idea, okay, I will burn the flag and everything, and the moment I can't.
Because it would have been this notion of this riot, like this and this is something more about, this is our country, like we're getting as the flag back. We don't want to destroy the country. We're not against you. We are the people.
Exactly.
And, yeah, so this is our flag as well.
Exactly.
Not as well, this is our flag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You get it.
So, let's get maybe to the last last series of work that we wanted to speak about today.
Okay. And that's a really new work I made. It was generated by AI for sure. It was written. But what we do with this series is a portrait. It's a portrait of Assa Traoré. Assa Traoré, it's like representing French activist, Black woman activist, and because his brother, she died, and she really started to be somebody politic and fighting for the rights for her brother. Here I'm not like trying to be like someone who go fighting and like say she's I'm like, okay, support her or not. That's not, for me, that's not the point. For me, it's more about how the new type of communication working, how we generate new representation, how the society saw her, like somebody tried to disturb the society in a certain way. And in the same time, interesting how she was like very smart and how she was like very intelligent, how to use the social media like Instagram, and specifically with Instagram. And I think her popularity came through two things. And I was there, and when she made like a big event for the Rise of the Brother in Clichy, it was just after that I decided to make this series. And for me, I start to understand how to create. I think it's really related to the assemblage I made with the pictures of Fletcher Street. And here you have like we start to keep all this image of Instagram, because I really was interested only of Instagram, because that changed her visibility, changed her fights, and that helped her fight to make more visible and involve more people to the fight through this new type of communication, the social media. And I think she's really smart how to use the social media for her right. And in a certain way, for me, that she represents like someone using the social media like a platform against the mass media, and the mass media making her very like weird image of her, and she used this other canal to make her communication and her point of view. And I started to bring like all this image, and I start to create his own image of AI, like how this social media see her, not like how I see like my individuality, but more like how the Instagram, how the social media, how the canal saw her, how we can generate an image. For example, you see the in the right side, even you don't recognize her, for sure you can see the t-shirt and you can say it's her, that's create something very symbolic. And I think that's interesting, because even we don't really recognize her through these pictures, really get it in 1 second. It's because that's synthesized in symbol of distributed in the social media. And yeah,
I think these images also have some kind of they're very technical, but they also have some kind of soft side of like protecting her in a way, protecting her image by blurring it. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's also because it's bringing that distance into our view.
No, it's super good. For me, it's also like super like not easy to even ask questions around it, because it's, for me, it's everything is kind of blurry around this deep fake, artificial intelligence, image making. It's like it's something that we all are like in a very early point of the journey, I think.
But for me, it's like, because if I relate it to the other series, for example, for Shoplifter of the series, for me, this series is all the time about try to understand like different prism and different perspective. And for me, like because okay, I will go back to the story, because I think it's good to go back to to the beginning of thing when you start to make a series of something. In the beginning, I had this idea to make her portrait, like regular portrait of her, like very basic, go to see her and to making like symbol of who she. And I can't do that because I can't do that because I have this kind of connection. It was quite easy, but for me, that not really get you in the context. It was not the context of who she is. And before, when I was talking about Instagram, for me, this is really important. It's not like just something, oh, I just get the image through Instagram and that's it. It's really important to get, I was trying to make her portrait. That's really the beginning of this project. And how to make the portrait of someone. You was trying to, maybe, it's the first time I really want to make like of the portrait of the personality, a public personality. And when I start to think about to make this own portrait with my camera, I start to saw so many photos. Okay, this is fine because all the time I just looking what the other photographers do. And I was like, okay, I don't want just to ask her and to make her portrait and show her the portrait. Because I think she's more complex than that, and just to make it very like basic symbol of something. And for me, she's really related about, for example, in the 2005, the only possibility of the communication of the representation we have, it was through we have of information we can have. It was only from the mainstream, from the TV of the mainstream press. You know, it was only that. And in 2018. That's really changed. I mean, the social media really changed our perception to consume the information, to know about something, and to start to be more like connected or more our information, and that create like a new form of power. Even I don't say that the social media that the best are great. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the influence, and they create the contre-pouvoir, you know, they create this kind of possibility to inform in other way. And through that, I was like, okay, this person, Assa Traoré, she have even, I'm not talking about her fight and her brother, even her, the story for me, it's really important for our change in France. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how she created this own contre-pouvoir through the social media. And making her portrait for me was very important, just to find the right way to show her, and at the same time to show her how the regular media see her. And I saw different image was generated by computer, by AI, and I thought, to make a portrait of her, I have to use this technique or this technology to show the portrait of her. And I make like 1,000, it was 1,000 different portraits, and I select only 10. I think it's very classic in certain way. It's very, very classic way. How you made the whole, the way I was thinking is very, very classic way of to be a photographer. But to be a photographer, like using all this technology to create this portrait of Assa Traoré. I mean, that's the origin of all this story, and how I get there to make this portrait of Assa Traoré. Now you have the right chronology of this work.
That's great.
And I just want to tell you, yeah, sorry.
Also, like, it's interesting to see that in relation to Shoplifters, in which you were creating details, putting more details into the pictures to make that one photo more visible.
Yeah.
And with her pictures, it's those glitches and the things you added to create a distance, but to bring us closer to her image in the end.
That exactly. It's like, it's exactly the same. Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I think that's
no, but I mean, in certain way, this portrait is very classic in certain way. It's very classic photography for me. It's like, that's a portrait I want to make about her.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like, what is your process to go there? You know, it's like, what kind of process, what is protocol to find the right way? Well, all this kind of reflection and this moment we are living, when she was like using that, you know, and it's exactly what you say with shoplifter, like how to reveal something and to use Photoshop, these techniques to reveal something you want to talk about.
Yeah. I think that says a lot about the development of our media and about photography in general.
Yeah, but the point is not the one point. Just I want to say, this portrait is not. I'm not passionate about technology in this portrait. I'm not talking about AI. I just using this technology just for make this portrait. That's another point too.
I mean, technology has evolved in a way to that point, 2021.
Exactly.
Where it's used in another way.
Exactly. I'm not just, sorry, go ahead.
But like in the same time, it's like also interesting that it's called network, but because like the network or like a huge amount of pictures and people are creating an icon, not the artist anymore. Like you as an artist, you're adding something like another sphere maybe, but the icon is already there. No, it's like, it's very interesting. Yeah. Also regarding this.
I'm just writing what you say. Thank you. Thanks.
I think this is also a good way to end our conversation, because we've wrapped up a lot about the development of technology and photography.
Yes, we've been speaking for quite a long time now.
Yes.
I really
1 hour and a half.
I really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for like all this information about your work and
thank you.
All the stories behind it, and thank you so much once again.
You're welcome.
Being part of this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Julika, thank you that you
Thank
joined.
you. Yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot.
Me too. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye.
See you soon, hopefully.
See you.
And
thanks.
goodbye. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.